why not?
Yeah.
Here we go. Hello, folks. Lindsey Huddleston with Sports Psychology Solutions. Also, the Coach's Culture podcast. My partner in crime, Keith Tate, is not with me today, but I'm with a great young man, Coach Josh Pickens, head coach, LTU, Lawrence Tech University basketball here in his second season, hailing from Rockford, Illinois, not to be confused with Rockford, Michigan. He is a happy Illinois product, but he's here doing some great things in the Metro Detroit area right at Southfield. So, Coach Pickens, it's a pleasure to come in contact with you again.
Thanks for having me.
And congratulations for all the great things. You're already setting records in your second season at LTU. We take all records, good and bad. We take it.
We're making our history, as we call it, our history. Everyone's at a different starting point, and we just want to build every day. And so far, we've tied a record for most wins in a season in a modern era. So we want to keep building on that. Our goal is not wins and losses. Our goal is getting better every day. And if we continue to do that, you continue to set records. So hopefully, we can continue to do that.
That's great. That's great. And anyone who comes in contact with him will see he's a ball of energy, very excitable. He's out here working out with the players. On the two occasions I've been here, he's been in here in the gym with the players, not just directing and pushing, but getting out there, sweating, getting this lather going. I don't know whose playlist is better, his or the players, with things like that. So, Coach, tell me one thing that you find when you're talking about your great program at LTU that you have to make people aware of. What's one of the common things that you have to go through to share with people?
I think the first thing is, like you said, we're here. I come in contact. I got the job in June of 2017. Mm-hmm. That'd been my second time in Michigan, period.
Wow.
So just kind of to see how many people in this area, in the Detroit metro area or in the Southfield area, didn't know we had a basketball program was kind of alarming. So half the battle was just getting out there, meeting people, letting them know that we had a program, just being visible. Mm-hmm. Now, I think it's to show them that we have a program that's growing and we're building something special. And I think, you can talk about it, but I think the best salespeople of our program are getting to meet myself and then getting to meet our players. Mm-hmm. We have great young men, and you just met Ty, who was here working, and we have 14 other great young men in our program as well. And so when they're out in the community, out meeting people, I think you get to really see the type of product that we have, and more importantly, what we're building. And I think it's, someone said, I think it was, I met yesterday, there's a buzz going around, and that's good. And, we're day by day, we're building brick by brick, and we're still at the beginning stages of where we want to get to. But to get the name out there and get the buzz out there, that takes great people in your program. And I think, having guys like Tyrese and Devontae Miles and all the guys in the area are doing that.
That's great. And it's funny that you do say a buzz. I told you I grew up in this area. Stone's throw away here before high school. We used to do our conditioning, running up this far. And no one ever would have thought that there was a basketball program that was viable that you wanted to be involved in. I've been fortunate just like you to be around a lot of basketball, a lot of players on every level. And you see the D1 guys, you see a team like a number one team like a Kansas or a Michigan State. You see these players, and you see athletes who want to aspire to be on that level, which is great. But everyone is not D1, 6'5", 6'6", 200 plus pounds, all those other natural gifts that you get. So you being an NAIA coach, what do you find yourself having to do to help educate players as far as the great opportunities that come, not just at Lawrence Tech University, which is a great school, but just in the NAIA or anything other than Division I?
Yeah. Well, I think the first thing is exposing them to our level of basketball. So when we go out recruiting, that's why we really make an emphasis on coming to games, more importantly, coming to a practice so you can see how high level it is, how high level the competition is. Also, if you want to be good at any level, if you're Division II, you're recruiting Division I players. If you're NAIA, you're recruiting Division II level players.
I see.
So and when it comes to, when you actually get these young men on campus, I think it's being your best you, right? Like how can you develop and how can I help you develop to what you are? Because we speak about young men, we don't get the finished product. The finished product is at the Michigan State, the Kansas, the higher levels. NAIA, you get someone who can do this well, but needs to develop that. So getting out here with them, like you said, sweating with them to help them to develop that is how you get them to the next level and eventually get your program to the next level.
Well, that's wonderful because I think so many young people can easily be jaded with these ideas that if they're, not, a sophomore that's being highly recruited by a number one program, that their college playing opportunities are gone. But then you have great opportunities like, Lawrence Tech that not only provide a great competitive environment, but the development of the whole student and what can happen when they're done. You use Ty as an example. Great young man. And he's talking about doing graduate assistant work when he's done. He seems to be a fixture in this community. How important is it for players to develop not only on the basketball court, but beyond the basketball court?
And that was my next thing, being your best you. So as a sophomore in high school, you feel like you're not being recruited by the Division I's, but you got to keep working. So when you get fresh out of college and you don't get the dream job, because we all go to school and think we're going to come out making $100K, right?
Yeah, $100K is nice. Tell me about it.
Yeah, if you don't get that job, okay, then what's next? Is it a failure? No, it's not. You got to continue to work your way up to that. And that's just, again, basketball and life tie together so much, and just instilling the work ethic, the pound the pavement mentality, the day by day, the brick by brick, it's a marathon, not a sprint mentality, and continue to build that in them. And that comes from not one thing or two things, but just every day. You feel like you have children. You feel like you're preaching the same thing every single day, and it's falling on deaf ears, but it's not. Because when you see young men start to develop like the ones that are in our program, they're hearing the message and they're taking the message. So just develop a mentality, just a workman mentality, like no matter what comes at you, negative, I'm going to persevere through it. No matter what comes to you positive, I'm going to take it, but I'm going to keep striving for more.
I like that. Now, we've been talking about the development of the players. Now, let's get a little bit more personal as it relates to you taking on this new role. And what advice can you give someone who is at that transitionary period where they may be interested in getting coaching? And here you are, you've landed a college coaching job, no doubt. I mean, a head coaching job at that. Yeah, with a school that is definitely about putting resources into the program, just from what I sense. So what advice can you give someone who's trying to navigate to get into the coaching ranks and the college coaching ranks like you are right now?
And then not just in coaching, just in anything, you got to dive all the way in head first. And you got to be willing to make those sacrifices.
What does that look like?
Yeah, so it looks like right after college, being a graduate assistant and making $400 a month. It looks like being an assistant and making $19,000-$20,000 and having to max out a credit card to pay for other things, right? So sacrificing on the front end, and then while you're making those sacrifices, you got to put in the work, putting in the long hours, going out recruiting, watching tape, making your life easier on your head coach or whoever your boss is, developing players, continuing to stay in contact with those players, developing them off the floor and academically, to put yourself in position now to when an opportunity arises to apply for a head coaching job. Now you're there. I think so many times we think, well, we judge based on our position title, right? So I'm just a graduate assistant, so I'm not going to do that work right there. That work is for the assistant. That work is for the head coach. I had great mentors who threw me into doing everything right away. So when my time came, I was ready. That interview came for the head coaching job. I was ready. I had so many different experiences. So I would just say sacrifice and continue to work. Do more than what's asked of you, just in any profession, right? But that sacrifice is real. I mean, you got to be willing to make no money to make money. So.
Right. I want to stay on that a little while because you just kind of painted a picture of the grind, the sacrifice, sleeping on the couch and doing all that. But all throughout that time, you're still a person who has, family, whether you're responsible for anyone, but you have a social group. How is it when you're quote unquote struggling to make your dream come true and it may seem a little out of reach, but you still have to do those things? Because you talked about the struggle part. Yeah, we can all struggle, but then to struggle publicly, it's almost like for your friends say, look, man, why don't you give it up? Why don't you go get a quote-unquote real job? Why don't you make you some real money? I'm just throwing these things out that I think
I've heard it. Yeah, I heard it when I was young.
So how do you have that inner strength to stay goal-orientated and still be able to do that amongst a peer group that may provide social pressure, whether it's directly or indirectly?
The first thing is you're a reflection of the 5 closest people around you.
Okay.
So your circle has to be right? Because your circle understands if you have a passion, your circle understands passion and understand what it means to chase that. So they're supportive. Now they're real with you, right? When you make a mistake or anybody, they're real with you, but they got to be supportive. But I think it's just having conviction. I was always taught, plus P plus the right E equals F. Your gift plus your passion plus the right environment equals fulfillment.
Wow.
So I know what my gift is, and that's communicating with people and working with people.
Definitely.
I know what my passion is, the game.
Right.
So I need to be in the right environment to get what I need to get. And so I just always stuck to that. My father always told me, hey, you got the rest of your life to work, do what you love. So I just continued to chase it. And so, having that good support group, though, really, really monitoring who's in your circle and pouring positivity and truth into you. I think that's important.
Well, I'm glad you kind of even went back to that about this circle, and I think that'd be something helpful for our viewers, because I guess that means you have to evaluate your circle on a regular basis.
Absolutely.
And then, Coach, once you evaluate your circle, just like you would with a team or a player, if you're unhappy, what do you do next?
The hard thing, stepping away, just adjusting it. You know what I mean? Like it's so crazy. I was telling someone this about a month or so ago. The five people I'm closest to outside of family, they look nothing like me. Right? Like what my college roommate does and my other buddy does. But then after that, it's a 40-year-old white man who lives in Nebraska. Right? That was my boss for so many years, and we're as close as anybody. And so just adjusting your circle to people who I don't want to necessarily say like-minded. But have the same values. Let's say that. Have the same work ethic. That understand passion. You don't want everyone that thinks like you, but you want everyone that grinds like you.
I use you as an example, having to be here 2 days in a row, and I felt good about coming down today because, one, Ty was an early morning kid that's going to get in the gym, so I know he's going to be here. And I said that his coach is right there with him. So it's almost like you can almost trust the next move based on the people you're dealing with, based on the fruits they show you about how they represent themselves. I think you do that very well, and I'm sure that's impacting your players. So with that, is there anything you want to share, whether it's to family or friends, or any other message we can send? Because I think this communication is going to be very helpful to a lot of people. Is there anything else you want to share before we wrap up?
No, just the main thing is I want people to know what type of product we're building here at Lawrence Tech, and we don't have the glitz and glamour, right? We don't have the best facilities in the state, but we have enough to be successful. And if we continue to get high character young men who want to get after it, who want to work hard, who want to buy into our core values, we'll put a banner up. Now, we're going to do it. I tell our guys this all the time. We're going to put a championship banner up one day. I just don't know what year it's going to be. We're going to do it one day because we're going to continue to grind and get there. So I just want people to know what we're building. And then like getting back to what we talked about, if you're chasing anything, if there's any doubt or anything like that, continue to pound the pavement, man. Continue to chase your passion. And no matter what sacrifices you make, let the sacrifices you make fuel your work ethic even more, knowing you invested so much.
That is awesome. We got Coach Josh Pickens here at Lawrence Tech University. Don't catch up to this guy last. Get here early and see what's going on. Come check him out, support him. But I really appreciate you and what you're sharing and what you're doing.
Thanks, I appreciate that, man.
Best luck. I want to be here when that better goes up.
For sure. I appreciate that.
All right, great. Good job.
Yeah. I gave you enough, right?